Hi, welcome to EZ Wing Chun. I'm Jay, and if you haven't heard of me before, we are the YouTube channel all about martial art and self-defense tutorial. So if you're interested in those aspects, if you want to learn some self-defense techniques, martial art in general and Wing Chun in specific, please make sure to subscribe and follow our channels. Today is another Kung Fu Tea series, which I'm gonna dedicate it to my heroes, Bruce Lee. I'm gonna tell you exactly why Bruce is a true martial artist, why he is the most iconic Kung Fu heroes on the planet. And it's not biased at all, even though I'm a big fan of Bruce and my Sifu Adam Chan studied briefly with Jesse Clover, Bruce Lee first student, and Ed Hart, also a friend of Bruce Lee. Yeah, it's not bad at all. Trust me. I'm gonna tell you what makes sense, but first, let's roll that intro. In this game, I'm the author man. Life too short for not the chance. You hate me, still the same. None of y'all may call a chance to the border. To corner my honor and yet conquer. It's my life, not other. This Kung Fu guy get no orders. First, I want to answer the most debatable questions that I always see in those martial art forums. Is Bruce a good fighter? And by answer that, I have to define what is a good fighter. Do you mean a good fighter is an MMA fighter? Do you mean a good fighter is a street fighter? Because Bruce is none of that. If you think like that, then no, Bruce is not a good fighter, but his skill is legit. Because, okay, to be fair, I don't live in that generation. You probably either. Otherwise, I call you uncle already, right? But according from my Sifu and some of the talk, the conversation with Jesse, with Ed, with people on that era, right? With people surround Bruce. Jesse Glover, he's the judo champions like multiple times. He's not some average dude, and he cannot do anything to stop Bruce. Ed Hart, a professional boxer, not an average dude. The first time when he met Bruce, he cannot do anything to Bruce. So that also proves something, right? That's also like the backbone of something. Like these guys not average guy and they cannot do anything against Bruce. If you look broader, you see that there's a lot of big name and then they study under Bruce. And then now this generation, if you look online, you see Mike Tyson, you see Conor McGregor, great fighters, right? None of those guys talk bad about Bruce. The reason why his way of thinking is very, very pioneer is because he doesn't look at martial art as styles. And like Bruce said, style is the crystallization of martial art, which means it's dead. So when you look at it as a style, you hit the rooftop. But if you look at it as a bunch of techniques, as a bunch of concept, and then you bring it up all together, and then you follow the rule of physics, the rule of Tao, the rule of nature, the Tao of Chikundo, whatever. Now you figure out the way. The concept of Chikundo is you figure out the way to express yourself, which means you have to take a variety of techniques. You try them on, you see if they fit you. If they fit you, great, you keep them. If they don't fit you well, then you discard them, right? And I cannot believe that in like 2020, we still have that mentality. We still follow martial art like a religion. We still look at it like, oh, my Sifu teach me this, so I'm honor my Sifu. I'm not gonna change anything. And that's probably the reason why a majority of martial art nowadays don't work that well, because if you're not evolved, you're gonna get left behind. That's just the rule of the modern societies. If you look at iPhone, every year they got a new iPhone. If you look at medical field, every year they come up with a new way, with a more effective way to treat the patients, to cure the illness. Something that 50 years ago is the death sentence, now they be able to fix that. So if you get the technologies from like 100 years ago and then you use it now, of course it's not that gonna effective, right? That's just common sense. You cannot, take a horse and then get raced with a car. The horse probably lose. But without the horse, we probably unfit now. We don't have the car, we don't have anything, right? At that time, I think what he did is amazing. And if you think it now in 2020, I still think his stuff is very, very amazing. If he lived in 2020, I wonder what change he gonna make to JKD to even skyrocket it. When people look at Bruce, all they want is they want to see if Bruce is the good fighter. If his fighting skill actually meet his, fighting actors on those movies. Well, of course, if you're going to a movie shoot, everybody that ever do a stuntman, everybody that end the film, like an action film, they all know that you have to make a really wide movement so that the camera can capture. You have to make the movement really, really shitty. That's like the fact. Everybody know it. If you make a really small movement, it's really effective because it's non-telegraphed. Your opponent cannot see it, but the camera cannot see it too. So obviously you have to make a really big movement so that the camera can capture it, right? I don't know why so many people still look at the film and then judge Bruce's fighting skill on that. If you want to judge on Bruce's fighting skill, maybe, some living witnesses, right? Maybe some footage. And there's a good amount of footage online how fast Bruce is. I don't care if he's that good in martial art. If he's good or not, I don't care. But the guy that's fast, that the camera at that time cannot even capture it. I wouldn't dare to like mess with this guy. I wouldn't dare to like challenge him. Honestly, there's no point of arguing if he's good or not. The main thing that you want to think about is what his strength contribute to your life. When I look at Bruce, I am a big fan of his idea. I'm a big fan of his philosophy. I don't care how his personal life is. I don't care if it's a great fighters, because no matter if it's a great fighters or not, that doesn't affect my life. What affect my life is his philosophy. The moment that I have a hand on his philosophy and got introduced by my Sifu, Adam Chan, of course, I can see that transformation clearly. So that's why I'm really excited to share it with you guys. Hope this philosophy will change your martial art career rather than just arguing if Bruce is a good fighter or not, because that not gonna bring you any value. Like my Sifu, even though when he move, I'm like, wow, I honestly, I never see a guy that fast. But every time I ask him, do you think that you can beat Bruce in speed? He always tell me that Bruce is 40% faster than him, and he always try to close that gap. I don't know if it just his imaginations, but the fact that he keep increasing his speed from time to time and to close that gap, to close that maybe that imagination gap, the fact that he improves through that way of thinking, that incredibly me, that mind blowing. So I want to be like that. I want to, okay, my Sifu here, Bruce here, then I have just tried to climb the ladder as fast as I can, and I can see improvement in that too. So my point is, you don't need to argue about Bruce because it just don't bring any value to you. Like, stop doing that. Just take out what it works for you, take out what you need, and just like train hard and make progress. I'm pretty sure that you're not perfect, I'm not perfect, nobody perfect. So we have to learn from somebody at some point, right? And that's a good thing to keep in mind if you want to see a progress. If you already call yourself a Sifu, if you already call yourself a master, then okay, maybe you're not a good audience for this kind of video. But if you're a beginner and then you want to climb up the ladders to as close as you can get, to as high as you can get, then this is my point. Stop focusing on people, focusing on you. And then when you look at people, The only thing you care is what his best attribute is. How can I make it into myself? That's it. Like Bruce said, the ultimate knowledge becomes self-knowledge. There's so many people can talk about MMA fight. There's so many people can talk about Mike Tyson versus Mayweather, things like that, right? In the martial art world, you have some crazy, battles between this iconic guy, that iconic guy, like Jackie Chan versus Bruce Lee, who win. Donnie Yen versus Mike Tyson, who win. Like, yeah, those kind of dumb argument. But yeah, like forget about that. Always look at, okay, let's say Donnie Yen moved pretty good. He moved pretty damn good for a guy like 50 years old, right? So you look at that, study that. What made him so fast even at that kind of age? See, like there's always some room for you to learn. And if you're a beginner and you want to enjoy your martial art career, here's the tip for you, okay? Forget the haters, ignore them. Like be ignorant as possible and just do what you think is good to do. You have to go through errors to develop. So screw that. Like, okay, let's say this is the worst punching technique ever. Study that, practice this, give time for it. Then you try to punch the pad to see if it's actually works. Maybe it works for somebody, but it's good for you. Like Jesse Glover said, somebody poison is somebody treasures. My sifu always keep telling me that over and over and over and over until, yeah, that's stuck into my head forever. And I'm glad that I've got those sifu, I've got those, those teachers with such an open mind that willing to guide me to the path to expressing myself. So that's why I want to share the tips with you guys so that you guys don't have to, chase all the path, because at the end of the day, no matter who you chase, you're gonna come back to your own path. It just takes longer time. So why don't you just walk on your own path and chase the success by yourself? Pretty cool, right? Okay, that's enough for today, T. I know I'm such a talkative. I talk a lot, but I hope you guys enjoy my contents. I hope it will help you guys. It will. I'm guarantee you, it will literally show you some progress if you follow that, if you're chasing that, if you try to express yourself. Rather than that, if you like the content, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Like I always said, enjoy your week and make sure you train hard. If you have time to watch the clip, turn this off right now. Oh, yeah, maybe watch till the end, then turn it off and go training. EZ Wing Chun, peace.